Alright guys, it's Dokkan time, and Physical Rose is going to be coming over to JP finally. It has been on Global since February, I want to say. He's not the most amazing unit, he's not the most terrible unit either, really. So for the JP players, I do have the builds on the side right here. I'll put them up at the end of the video as well. But basically what you want to go for is if you just get a 55%, just put the rest into additional. Additional would probably be the best way to go. That way you're just trying to get more additionals to proc his passive going off. And then as far as his, like if you get 2 dupes, if you're lucky enough to get 2 dupes, you got 2 different builds. You can either go for a more defensive build with like additionals and dodge in mind. It's your choice, user choice, how you want to go about that. And then you can also go with a more damage-oriented route with more crits and then additionals. I always suggest the defensive orb, though. He does have damage reduction already, but his defense can climb pretty high. He's either a defensive unit or he's a damage dealer. It just really depends on your RNG. So I figured we'd do a showcase for him. My is Zamasu, or not Zamasu, Rose, technically the same. My Rose is... he's only 55%, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, I cannot find a Rainbow Friend, as he was not summoned for much on Global either. He does have a domain. He does raise attack and defense on Super. He has Ki +2, attack and defense +200, guards all attacks for 1 turn. From his entry turn, he then reduces damage received by 6% per Super Boss category ally on the team up to 30%. Then he gets another damage reduction of 30% before attacking. So he has 60% damage reduction before attacking, and then 30 after if your team is full super bosses. He increases... hold up. He launches an additional attack per rainbow key sphere obtained. So get as many rainbow key spheres as possible. Launches an additional attack that has a high chance, which is a 50% chance of becoming a super attack. Then he launches an additional super attack every time the character attacks 5 times in battle, plus an additional attack and defense plus 30% within the same turn with each attack performed. And then Super Boss category allies get Ki +2 within the same turn after he receives a hit, and he has a 70% chance to nullify Ki Blast Supers. So basically, every Rainbow Key Sphere you grab is an additional he's going to get. Every additional that you do, regardless of if it's a Super or a normal, he's getting attack and defense of 30%. So it's actually, even if you get a normal, he's still getting a 30% attack and defense boost as if he was supering. It's a very interesting way to build a unit. Because of how many normals he can do, this is a unit that can penta, that can easily get up to like 6 or 7 super attacks. It's just unlikely to happen. And by that, I mean, he can only do normals, pretty much. He can do a bunch of normals in his base state, but once he goes into his domain, that's when he gets crazy, and then he greatly raises his attack and then raises defense for 1 turn and greatly lowers defense of the enemy. So the big key difference here, other than, you know, stat boosts and so forth, is that he does now have attacks effective against all types. Now, some players are fine with attacks effective against all types versus crit. That's entirely up to you. I've found that crit still does an immense more damage than attacks effective against all types. So I'm always going to suggest crit over attacks effective against all types. But for the people that like to do the defensive builds, this means that you got a jack of all trades here. He's still going to be doing decent damage, and then you'll have your defensive option. He does reduce damage received by 66% before attacking. The trade-off, the big trade-off for when you go into his domain is that he no longer has the 30% damage reduction after super attacking. So before supering, he actually has more damage reduction. He's got 66%. But after supering, he has 0 damage reduction, whereas in his base state, he would have at least 30% damage reduction. That's something to keep in mind when you're using him. He does randomly change key spheres to rainbow key spheres, and then launches an additional attack that has a a rare chance of becoming a super attack, which is only 20% per rainbow key sphere obtained. And then he launches another additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack, and then launches an additional super attack every time the character attacks 5 times in battle, plus an additional attack and defense plus 33% within the same turn with each attack performed. So once again, you just want to do as many additionals as entirely possible with this guy. That is the main goal here. And with how many additionals he can do, that's the reason I went for to suggest a crit build. He's a very unique and interesting unit, I will say. So, let me go ahead and pop up the slot positioning tips and suggestions, and then we'll get started into the showcase. Okay, so let's go ahead and head into Majin Buu Absorption. Hopefully we won't have too many issues while fighting him. On the right side of the screen, you can see that we do have a suggested leader, we have suggested partners, and we have the best slot positions. He has two different roles. He can either be a damage dealer or he can be kind of a tank. Somewhere in the middle he could potentially be, but basically he can fill the role of doing very good damage or be a very good tank. So the one thing I will say is that his partners are pretty straightforward, but let me explain more as we get into the fight. Alright. So we managed to get one of the Rosés on our first turn. Unfortunately, he got super sealed, which is very unfortunate. Now, as I said before, he has 30% damage reduction as long as you're full on super bosses. He actually has 60% damage reduction in slot 1 right now before super. Now, obviously, Zamasu himself is a fine unit to just kind of chuck right here, and he'll be fine to tank some damage for us for right now. So I'm just going to do this. I'm still going to prioritize as many of the Rainbow Key Spheres as possible with him, because what we really want from him is we really want to get additionals here, because for every additional, we get attack and defense of 30%. Now, regardless of him actually, you know, getting to super attack, he'll still be building up. So that's what we want to see. That's what we want. Now, the only other thing I will say about Fizz Rose is that when you use him, I just really can't express enough that he has to be on a full Super Bosses team. You kind of start feeling the damage reduction go away, because it's just, he really wants the extra Super Bosses. He really wants the Big Bad Bosses link with all the other Zamasus. During Worldwide Download Celebration of 2023, I really felt like when they released all of these cool, good Zamasu units, the EZA, AGL Zamasu, the LR Merge Zamasu, they really just made it a whole thing where you want those units to be all together on their team together, and that's it. You don't really want to mix and match them too much. If you start mix and matching, you kind of start feeling like they're suffering as units. So, I'm not sure how far we can really make it with this team, in all honesty. I really have no idea. I'm kind of going in blind almost with this. So I'm really hoping that we can manage to be okay in this fight. We shall see. All right. So once again, the dude got freaking sealed. I don't understand why they decided to do that. So we have a whole slew of good link partners. As long as it's a Rose and Zamasu unit, you pretty much can get all of his links going off. He has all the standard links that go along with most of the Zamasus. You know, Dismal Future, Big Bad Bosses, Nightmare, Fear and Faith. No matter what, those 5 links with Fierce Battle are pretty much always going to be going off with him. It'll be changing differently, you know, if you actually have another Rose with him after he uses his domain. You know, there's better link partners. You know, there's link batteries, you know, kind of like the Intelligence TUR Zamasu that transforms, or not Zamasu, Rose that transforms into Rose. But that's just not a good unit. It's just not a good unit to be as the partner. I'm only going to put the partners down that I think are good enough for you to take into actual difficult content. So just keep that in mind. So even though he's sealed, I'm going to keep him in slot 1 because he is a good tank. He is a very solid tank, I will say. I will say he's a solid tank. And I'm not going to change my mind on that. He can be a solid tank even if he's sealed. He's got 60% damage reduction right now before even super attacking. With every freaking normal he gets a 30% attack and defense. So even without supering, he's still got 30% there. He got 30% there. He got 30% right there. So he just got 90% increase on his defense just from attacking right there. So just from normaling. So as long as he's not getting stunned, he's perfectly fine. We might be dead right here, actually. I might need to pause this and restart. Woo, dang, they took that really well. That was really amazing. I'm not going to lie. Holy crap. All right. So. But yeah, I feel like Rose is underestimated. I really feel like a lot of people underestimate him. Not that I think that he's necessarily the best thing since sliced bread to really summoning for on JP or Global right now, unfortunately. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the one Rainbow Key Sphere that I can grab. I don't trust AGL Zamasu in slot 1 just yet. Yeah, sometimes you'll end up on rotations like this where you just get nothing. You don't get any Rainbow Key Spheres, and that's where he's at his worst. That's where this Fizz Rose is at his worst. The worst possible rotation you can have is where you have no Rainbow Key Spheres. You want Rainbow Key Spheres to go off. Now, this is the Friend Rose, so he has one dupe in him. So he'll be doing a little bit better, probably. There's one attack. There's the double. We only got one Rainbow Key Sphere. And keep in mind, in his passive, he does have a 50% chance to do a super. That was probably the Rainbow Key Sphere. But either way, as I said, even if he only gets normals, he's getting 30% attack and defense. Now, it doesn't amount to much, but when you have damage reduction, it does help just a little bit. Unfortunately, it looks like he sealed the Tech Zamasu there at the end there. Okay. Still good. We're still good. We're just dragging along right here. It's just really slow. Okay. So we do have the option to go ahead and use his domain already. Now, this is a showcase, so I'm just going to do it for showcase purposes. Here's the thing. We got a double Rose lead here. We got double Rose lead. So you can only activate one domain at a time. So because this is really early on, we're not even halfway through the health bar. We're still trying to make it through. I'm just going to go ahead and activate this just for the showcase sake. All right. And with that, we now have Rose transformed on rotation. Because he is transformed now, he will fully link up with the Intelligence Rose. Unfortunately, it's not a full link set, but Intelligence Rose is very good. He's still a very good unit. I don't think he has Kamehameha. No, he does not. So, now with each Rainbow Key Sphere now that we collect, each one of those have a 20% chance to become an additional super. So he could theoretically be absurdly good right now. 4 Rainbow Key Spheres is very good. So that's a guaranteed 4 additional attacks coming through here. So let's see what we can get. I don't trust the Tech Zamasu. Although I could do this and he will technically have more links going off. But I'm gonna put Rose right there. I just don't trust this Rose right here. Well, maybe I should. Never mind. I take it back. He's got 500k defense right now. He's got more defense than this guy has, and he's going to have more even post-super. Oh, this is a tough one. It's hard to say. We have type disadvantage with the other one, but we're not getting a super off right here. If this is the end of the run, this is the end of the run, I guess. But yeah, his domain is super boss category allies and enemies. Get attack and defense plus 10%, and then an additional attack and defense plus 10% for characters who are also extreme types. Because there is super bosses that are not extreme types. So that's a 20% boost to all of our units. Let's just see how he does. Let's just see how he does, guys. Here's hoping for the best. So right now he's got 66% damage reduction before supering. Alright, first super. Now hear me out. Yes, it's a very low damage number. It's a very low damage number. There's 2. There's 3. Now we're already up to 6.9. He's done 1 normal, and he's now done a second super attack. There's the second normal. There's a third normal. 12 million attack stat there, now doing a third additional super. And now a fourth additional super, 14 mil. You can see what I mean when I say that he can actually do some good damage here. It just really depends on your RNG. Unfortunately, that might be the end of the run because I don't know if they're going to be able to take a super attack post with no post super. We might be dead right there. Oh, wow. Dang. They're pretty good. They're a lot better than I've been giving them credit for. 22 million. Wow. But yeah, like I said, Fizz Rose can be very good. It just highly depends on your rotation. It highly depends on your RNG with the rainbow key spheres. It all depends. It's all very RNG. Very RNG, to say the least. All right. So we still have the domain effect up. So everyone on this rotation has a 20% buff right now. And once again, even with this Rose, you want to go primarily for the extra key spheres. Unfortunately, we are unable to grab the 3 rainbow key spheres there. I don't trust the other... I don't trust freaking this Zamasu right here. Even with his 50% damage reduction, I'm not sure I should really be trusting him too much. I guess I could try to trust him, because if I can drop this, I can potentially try to get all 3 of those rainbow key spheres. I'm going to try and trust him because... Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and trust him. Because we need to get some stuff. Well, you know what? No. Let's just go with... Let's just be safe. Let's just be safe here. The run is going too well. The run is going too well. Let's just be safe. He'll be fine on the next phase. Alright. So once again, only 1 super right now. We have a guaranteed 2 additional normals going off, which will still give him the attack and defense of 30%. There's the first normal. There's the second normal. Now, anything else after this is hidden potential and I think 1 more in the passive. That was the 50% passive, and that's the hidden potential right there. I don't know. Actually, maybe that was... I lose track of all of his passive. I'm not even going to lie, guys. I lose track of how Rose's passive works. It is just so absurdly crazy how good he can be. It's just so crazy. Looks like we'll get some stacks with the AGL Zamasu still. Alright, got 1 stack in. Alright. Now, for those that don't really realize it, this Zamasu kind of needs to be floated off. He pretty much needs to be floated off after he runs out of his damage reduction. Because he only has that 20% damage reduction for 4 turns. And then he's got like an extra 20% for the first turn, so he's got that 40% extra right there. Yeah, and he only gets the other additional damage reduction and defense. Oh, he has 40% damage. So, I mean, he has something, but he's not necessarily the end-all, be-all best slot 1 unit. Slot 2, he should be fine. So we'll actually keep him right here. So we can get 3 rainbow key spheres right here, and that's what you want. You just want to go for as many rainbow key spheres as possible. Unfortunately, I can only get 3 this time. But it is what it is. That's 3 guaranteed additionals right now, though. That's 3 guaranteed additionals. They could be super attacks, or they could just end up being normals. But they have a 20% chance to all also be super attacks. Let's see what he can do. So starts off at 3.7, kind of a lower number. All right, so that 20% chance procced, and we got a super attack. And the second normal had a 20% chance and procced as a super. Wow, triple super. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Okay, that's that third rainbow. There's another part of his passive. And I think this is potentially the hidden potential, or it's the 70% chance to do an additional. Okay, now we're getting his hidden potential. The one before that was probably 70%, and then the one before that was probably the super attack after performing 5 attacks. Yeah. There's just so many additionals this guy can do. It's absolutely insane how many additionals Fizzrose can do. It's actually a little scary how many he can do. It's really crazy. You can hardly keep track of his entire passive during the turn in which he's attacking. You can hardly keep up. All right. I think we're about to lose the domain. Well, no, doesn't look like it just yet. So, unfortunately, this is, once again, another one of those turns where it's like, you don't get any rainbow key spheres. And it's really unfortunate, and it is just the way it is. You know, we have him lowered on attack. We got 400k defense. We have 50% damage reduction with the AGL Zamasu. I'm just going to go ahead and collect these key spheres and see if the orbs drop well enough that I can give Fizzrose some rainbow key spheres. We can get one whole rainbow key sphere, so that's fine. I think I'm just going to go ahead and activate this. Now, I don't know if this worked or not, but basically, because we went into this rage mode, I don't know if the physical rows will have kept those rainbow key spheres, that one rainbow key sphere that I collected. I don't know if he kept those or not. It's really hard to say. He just does, like, hardly any damage. Let me get through this rage mode, and then I'll come back to this, because this is just going to take forever, and it's really boring. Alright, that was quick. So that basically cycled a turn, unfortunately. We do have 2 rainbow key spheres we can grab right here. Or, hear me out, I can heal up with the other Zamasu. That is also another option that we can do. See, this is where you gotta pick your demons. Do you go for... Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna do this instead, because I want to regain some health. It's unfortunate because we lost the rainbow key spheres. It's definitely not ideal whatsoever, but it is what it is. I think we can do some... I might have just killed my run. Oh, no, I didn't. Once again, I'm not giving this team enough credit. I'm just not giving them enough credit, I'm telling you. I mean, to be fair, they have an extra 30% total attack and defense because I have the... No, actually, the memory wore off. We did use a memory, but that memory has since worn off, or this is the last turn of that memory because it's turn 7, and it only lasts for 7 turns. We have the domain active, which gives us 20%. So, unfortunately, this would probably be the weakest you can see this Fizzrose right here. Because he's just going to do whatever's in his passive and whatever his hidden potential procs. Because we didn't get any Rainbow Key Spheres. The part of his passive where if he does 5 attacks, he gets a free additional, does not go off, basically, unless you get a Rainbow Key Sphere. You have to get at least a Rainbow Key Sphere or 2, or else you just won't get that to proc whatsoever. So that is something to keep in mind. He will look severely underrated unless you actually give him Rainbow Key Spheres. If he does not get Rainbow Key Spheres, you're just not playing physical Rose correctly. Alright. Domain is gone. Now, we do have the option where I could instead use this. I could actually use this Zamasu's domain. His domain lasts for 5 turns. So for 5 turns, he could stay up. But, yeah, I think we will do that. I think I'll just go ahead and do that right now. We'll just go ahead and use this domain, and then eventually we'll lose the last one. There's not really an upside or downside to doing this in all given honesty. With this domain active, it doesn't really do too much. Because it's supposed to increase damage received by superclass enemies and allies by 30%. And unfortunately, we're not fighting a superclass, so I just wanted to do this just to be able to have a solid tank in slot 1. That's all I wanted. So it looks like we can only get 1 key sphere here. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But as I suggest in my roll tips, Rose can either be a slot 1 or a slot 2 unit. It just really depends on who you're fighting. It depends on your rotations. It depends on who's linked up with him. So it just highly depends. I would say he's a lot better of a slot 1 unit when he is transformed, of course. But there is the flip side of his base state where, you know, if by chance, you know, a post-super is just not enough, then he would have at least had the 30% damage reduction afterwards. Whereas when he's transformed, he has no damage reduction post-super. He's a very finicky unit, I will say. Rose is very finicky. He's very weird. He can be underwhelming in the worst-case scenario, but in the best-case scenarios, he can just be overwhelming even. Unfortunately, my 55% doesn't look very good, and that's where I'll come out and say that 55% Rose is very underwhelming. He is just absurdly underwhelming, because he's not doing a lot of damage at all. He's just kind of there. As you can see, I just triple quad supered, but we have barely any damage going off. We have no crits going off. If almost any of these had critted, we would have been doing crazy amounts of damage, you know. Which is why I suggest the crit build, because of all of these potential super attacks that could be going off. If any single one of those attacks was a crit, we could have killed Boo right there. We could have killed. We could have easily killed, and it would have been fine. But alas, that's not how it was. So, go ahead and just get 1 extra stack in with him. Yeah. We might actually get through this pretty cleanly. Yeah. It is truly Dokkan time now. Alright. Now, probably a couple questions on the roll tips there. So, as I said, on the best slot positions, he can be in slot 1 or 2. It's entirely up to you. I would highly suggest that, you know, try to get the leaders together if possible when they're transformed. That way they can just have perfect links going off next to each other. But either slot 1 or slot 2. Slot 3, I don't feel like is his home, but you can float him if you so wish. Floating is not a bad choice. It's not the worst one. It's not the best choice, but it's not the worst one either. So right now he's got 60% damage reduction in slot 1 still, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and grab these orbs here, get everybody a defense buff. Yeah, and then, yeah, here we go. Just hoping for the best. This is where we could get a little bit of damage in, because we can't lower this Boo-Tanks' damage. So we might actually take a little bit right here. Yeah, 300k was quite a bit, but he did survive. That super attack, I believe, was... Let me try to go check how much damage that was. I think we already got a double right now. No. That super attack was a 1.4 million super, so we tanked 1.1 million damage. God, I love the LR Rose. The LR Rose is just so good when he's getting his crits off. If he doesn't get any crits off, then he's a little bit less impressive. All right. Oh, no! We're being forced to float. That's unfortunate. It is what it is. I'm not too worried about it, though. Not too worried. Because of the placement, though. That placement is really terrible. Oh, boy. Yeah. This might actually be the end of the run. So if it is, it is. It is what it is. Like I said, I feel like this team is desperately always wanting to try and pull having a full, like, Zamasu Rose team. And if you just can't get the full Rose team, it just really hurts a lot. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and try and get some heals there. Ooh, yeah, we're probably dead if we get supered in slot 1. Unless we magically dodge. Alright. Yeah, Rose can be very interesting. He can be very fun. He can be very good. It's just RNG. It's completely RNG. I can't emphasize that enough. He is a completely RNG-based unit. 100% RNG. Like, you got to get lucky on the additionals, and then the crits going off. His damage can be very subpar, though. But in my role tips, I do suggest Frieza as like a floating support unit, as he does support attack plus 60% and defense plus 30% for super boss allies. Frieza is not the best partner. He's just like the best floater for the team, in my opinion. There's other Goku Blacks that actually that do support better, but because of how not good they are, it's just very hard to suggest ever using them. Like the STR and AGL Goku Blacks and the STR and AGL Rosés, they do not present enough like defensibility to be thrown into like actual difficult content. That's the issue with it, in my opinion. Man, this is turning out to be a really long fight. I think this is the only reason, like, why I do not like using Rose sometimes. Like, he's cool, he's fun to use every now and again. But man, the sheer amount of additionals and all of the extra attacks, the lack of damage with my 55% copy. Oh my goodness, he just doesn't do enough. Defensively, he's fine. Defensively, I feel he's okay. You know, I don't think you'll be taking him into Kid Buu, of course. But, you know, this fight, he's not too shabby. He's just not too bad. He's not too bad at all. Ooh, I don't know if we can survive this. Can we survive 1.4? Nope. Well, I guess that's going to be it for the run, unfortunately. But that was pretty much the showcase for Zamasu there. I think he's very interesting. I think he's a fun unit to utilize. He's very RNG related. He needs to be paired up with another Zamasu or Rose to really benefit him. And ideally, you know, keeping him paired up with himself is the best thing to do. Unfortunately, in a fight where you get locked positions, that can hurt you. Oh yeah. But anyways, guys, based on that showcase, do let me know how you feel about this Rose and if you will be aiming to grab him or not. You can take a look at these last second parts, what kind of builds you may or may not want. I would just highly suggest, if you're just rocking 55%, either give him as much crit as possible or give him full additional. Those are your choices for a 55%. And if you manage to grab 2 extra copies, either build them defensively with additionals and dodge, or just go for a full DPS build and give them crit and then put the rest into additionals. So, but anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope you have a good day and a good night.